Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Wolves Fancast. Greg Richards here, hosting for you today, joined by Luke.
How you doing?
Dave.
Evening.
And last but not least, Jafo.
All right.
You look happy, Jafo.
I'm really not.
We'll try and keep this as upbeat as we can, given the circumstances. I promise I haven't took any recreational drugs or anything prior to starting this show tonight, but hopefully it'll be able to give you all a bit of a flavour and where we're at. Thanks everyone for joining us on this, and we'll go through obviously the review of the Arsenal game from yesterday. Without further ado, let's get into that. Starting with the team sheet. Also joined with a picture of my coach that I went on to Arsenal, and I honestly thought the coach company were taking the piss, to be honest. Giving me a coach with happy days on the way down to Arsenal, given the performances since the beginning of the season. So that was a bit of an ironic one for me to start the journey down to London.
Was he dressed like the Fonz?
You know what? I think we should sort of start. Maybe that's the next protest form. We should all start dressing like clowns or something, or just turn up to fancy dress for every game, and have our way that way. Perhaps all dress up as Santa. I know Stu had obviously got his Santa hat on. Perhaps we need to have a look at that. So as maybe an option going forward. But moving away from the coach and potential protest designs, we'll move on to the team sheet. Obviously, we had a few changes in as part of that. One that I wasn't seeing coming in terms of Doherty. One in terms of Hwang that I obviously did see coming because with Bellegarde being out injured. Luke, what were your thoughts on the team sheet when you saw that presented?
I just saw Hwang and just thought, nah. Because I mean that's just a personal gripe. Yeah. Because you know, I said it about 6 weeks ago. Just give Mane Hwang's minutes. Yeah. I'd much rather develop Mane through the academy, a player who we'll probably have next season than Hwang. But apart from that, no, I didn't have many qualms because I think with what we've got to pick from, doesn't really matter who we pick. We're going to lose the game.
Okay. That's a cheerful start. But yeah, I get that. I absolutely understand that reflection and certainly thought it's there. I mean, Dave, obviously, Luke's covered Hwang. The other one, obviously, coming in was Doherty, coming in on a right wing back, which, let's be honest, was his old position. That during his first tenure at Wolves, as opposed to more recently where he's played at kind of on the right side of the back three. What were your thoughts about Matt coming back in?
He could be no worse than what we've had the last few weeks, can he? So, and he actually played all right. So you could have had Dennis Irwin playing instead of Tachu and Hoover, and it would have been better. So yeah, I was happy to see him. To be honest, he's underrated here.
Yeah, he'll be our captain next season. Yeah. He will be our sort of new era Sam Ricketts.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that he was always going to bring was a level of commitment, particularly with his Spurs background. You know, that was something he was going to come in and start to look at, and really start to, and at least show some professionalism and pride, which I think has, to be honest, has been lacking a little bit in obviously in recent performances, particularly the shocking game against Man United. Your thoughts on the team, Jafo, was what you was expecting? Thought it was a pretty solid lineup tactically. What was your perspective, and would you have gone it any differently? Obviously, Luke's talked about bringing in Mane instead of Hwang. What would you have done differently if you were in charge?
Yeah, I just think it screams of trying to create damage limitation, and that's all that Edwards is trying to do at the moment, and it's a miserable position to find yourself in, that you have to go into every game and put yourself in a position where you have to try and limit the damage that's going against you, and that's what it screams. A back five again. It's five very much out and out defenders in terms of Doherty and Wolf, as well as the wing backs, that they're not very good going forward.
Yeah,
it's a lot of pressure on the players up front to do well, and as much as I want Mane to play more minutes, the damage that could be done to him by playing him as much as we probably need to instead of Wang could potentially long term drag him back. In terms of the way Fabio Silva was after Raul's injury, he might not get the development that he needs because he's playing too many minutes, and it's about balance and what we need and what the team needs right now are two very, very different things, and they're miles apart.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out to me, and it was actually Russ who pointed it out because I was watching the game with him in the boozer. It's probably the slowest starting 11 in Premier League history. There's just zero pace within that team, which is a major concern. You know, at the top level, you need an element of pace, especially when we're set up the way we're set up. And you know, I'm not trying to dig out Rob Edwards at all. You know, I think we've got to get behind him if I'm being brutally honest. But if we're looking to just sit in a low block and soak up the pressure, we need a bit of pace on the break and on the counter, and we just haven't got that within that 11. It's just not there, and I think the proof is in the pudding when, again, you know, I'm not trying to put him on blast, but when Martinelli ran past Doherty, and it looked like Doherty was running in treacle. But sometimes when the legs have gone at the top level, the legs have gone, and I'm not trying to say Doherty's legs have gone, but just how it highlighted the obvious lack of pace within the team.
Yeah, I mean that's why I kind of asked the question about Doc playing in the wing back role, where, let's be honest, you're going to need more pace to kind of get up and down and cover, which isn't there anymore. And that's no reflection on him. Listen, my pace went a long time ago.
Yeah,
if I did have any pace, so it's not really. It's just a reflection of that movement, and you know, and as you say, if you look at a lot of the top teams, they play with a front three, tends to be one focal striker and two kind of wingers, and that's their outboard, and it's that progression up the pitch and getting the ball up the pitch. And as much as I don't like to say it, Pedro Neto was a great example of that. He would take a ball, carry it 30 yards up the pitch, gets you up the pitch, gets moving forward. At the moment, our options are long balls into a striker who generally can't hold the ball up, and that again, we can get into how does that work, and we can talk about him a bit later on. But I think that's the problem. If you can't get out as a team, whether that's a direct carry or a player to hold it up, then you're going to have challenges and you're going to have that problem.
What will I say about Doc, though, is I think Rob was probably thinking, because Arsenal are a big brute of a team, they're just going to launch the ball, offset pieces out there. He's a great back post header. He will clear the lines, which I don't think Jackson, obviously judging by the goal, he can do that.
Yeah, Doc's a much stronger area presence, and we know that from under Nuno. You know, there was regular balls. Cody would be playing the ball out to him on that wing, and you know, went playing the diagonals. So, absolutely. And listen, he also provides a bit of a commitment as well. You know, he was taking. I mean, he was strapped up. For those you saw, he was all strapped around. So he's not 100% because you wouldn't have that level of strapping, but he's out there, he's committed and moving forward, and that's really important. Moving on into the game then. So gone through the team, looking at the game. Obviously, I think it was Arsenal started quite quick. There was a lot of noise in the stadium in terms of getting behind them early. Arteta had talked about in his presser about the intensity, starting with an intensity moving forward. But I think we handled that quite well. And actually, I would say we had the first proper chance of the game, which was obviously came to Hwang, where he went through. Hard to see from where I was because it was obviously at the opposite end to where the Wolves fans were, but kind of running through and had a shot which Raya, to be honest, quite comfortably saved and should have saved. Your thoughts on that, Luke? Were you confident that he was going to bury it, or what was your thoughts on going through? I know you've talked about it to him already, but what was your perspective?
No, I mean, I never felt confident that he was going to end up with a goal. But, you know, fair play to him because it's not easy to run from inside your own half into the opposition box. You know, when you're running with a football, it slows you down. So, you can't run as quick with a football when you're dribbling as when you're just running to trap back. So, do you know what? I'll give it to him. Fair play. He got up the pitch. He got a shot away. But again, at no point when he was breaking did I ever think, yeah, we're going to score here.
Yeah. I think I think that's the thing. I mean, one of the things, Jafo, that I saw on Twitter was someone commented that Hwang was a good finisher, and probably one of the better finishers in the team. Would you agree with that? Do you think that's one of the reasons why he's in the team? I've got my own opinions, which I'm going to hold fire on for now. But what are your thoughts in terms of Hwang also kind of playing in that more central role? I feel yesterday.
Well, we know that he has ability and he's got qualities because we've seen it. But the thing is, it's always few and far in between with Hwang. And I don't think that's down to him necessarily. I think he was very unlucky that he had his injury a few years ago when he was playing well. He was having that purple patch. And when he has come back from it, he hasn't been utilised consistently. He's always played it off the wing. They've played him central in a system where it didn't work previously under Gary O'Neill. Didn't use him properly, and then now he's come in as a say secondary striker to Jurgen Strand Larsen. If he's going to do well, if he's going to be a part of it, fans need to be behind him, and he needs consistent minutes in a position that works for him. He has to suit the system, and the system has to suit him. And that's the biggest thing. It's with any striker. If he gets one goal, he'll probably get 2 or 3 in the next weeks. He's one of those people who works off confidence. And it's hard for a player to believe in themselves when he's playing in such a delicate situation where everyone's under so much stress and the team are playing so badly that, if he fucks up, it's expected because of the situation that we're in, and he's now under all that pressure and all that weight is on his shoulders as he's running through. He's got a lot of time to think about where to put that shot, and that's the worst, really, because he's somebody who works best off instinct. We've seen that when he's done well for Korea, when with the goals that he scored for them, they've always been instinctive finishes. When he has time to think about it, he never does well with it.
I mean, just building on Jafo's point there, Dave, do you think it's just going to be one of those where we've got to keep playing him and hope and pray? Or is he just one of those where a fresh start's going to be the order of the day? He needs a new location, there's been talk of reset a lot within Wolves recently. Is he a player that just needs a reset ultimately to get himself moving forward from a career perspective?
Yeah, I think it's probably a couple of years too late for him to move on. He only has to do one little thing wrong, and the whole of the crowd is on his back. So that shows his confidence right down. To be honest, I don't think he actually played that bad last night. He did well. He held the ball up. He passed it off simple. He did hashing in clearances. I don't want to say it might help build his confidence a tiny bit, but he's only got to do one little thing wrong in the next game, and his confidence is going to be back down again.
I think he's quite good for the press and the closing down. For me, I think that's where he and certainly in the middle, he looks a bit more organised. I think he gets out on the wing and he gets lost, if I'm honest. I just feel that he probably does need a fresh start. I think it's just one of those, it's not going to particularly recover now between him and the fans, and that's going to be unfortunate. Obviously, just looking at that as well, and I've just obviously pulled the media down, but there was obviously the challenge that happened not long after where, unfortunately, he kind of overrun it slightly, stretched to reach, and there was a VAR check in the ground for a possible red. I think that was dealt with quite quickly, to be fair, and it was only a booking. But it'll be good to get your perspective on that, Luke, Dave, Jafo, just jump in, guys. Did you think it was? I felt it was a booking in the ground. Did you guys fear that it was a red, given what we're seeing a lot at the moment, or were you confident that it was going to stay as a yellow?
I think it was the correct decision. The yellow card, it was a hard tackle. I don't think he's caught him particularly high. Is he out of control? Maybe a little bit, but then the surface was quite greasy, wasn't it, as well? Mm-hmm. I think you can tell when somebody's going in to hurt somebody, or when somebody's going in just maybe with a little bit of force, but I don't feel it was unnatural or unnecessary force. So I do think personally that the yellow card was the right outcome.
I think the fact he pulled his foot away the last second probably helps as well.
Yeah, You can see he's a player that's stretching. I mean, like you said, Luke, I think that you can kind of get a feel based on the movement and the intensity of the movement. And you could see he was kind of stretching for it rather than just trying to go through a player. And I think that was a big variable for me. I agree. Jafar, your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I only echo what they're saying. I think there's no intent, and I think that's the key thing. What Luke is saying is you can tell when a player's going to hurt somebody, you can tell when they've got intent, and there was nothing there. And as Dad said, he pulled his foot away. So yellow card is correct, and the referee's got it right.
Okay. And without wishing to carry on with the kind of reffing by panel approach here, we've got there was obviously this other one as well with Eze that happened in the Wolves box where obviously Joe's gone in for a header and he's caught him, as you can see there, high. It's a high foot. Thoughts on that? My actual instinct from the ground was I didn't think it was a red necessarily because it comes from round the side of Eze. Now I could be being, it's high foot, it's dangerous. But again, for me, the way I saw this one is he was kind of coming in, Joe, on the blind side, as it were. So he didn't quite see it. It's still a high foot. I mean, that's an impressive kick if you were down watching the dancing, let alone on a football field. But your thoughts, Luke, on that one as well? Just kind of closing in. Is that the same kind of situation for you, or you got a different perspective?
No, I think it's a high foot quite blatantly. But again, I don't think there's any intent to go out and endanger Joe Gomez intentionally. For me, it's just a foul yellow card, simple. But I don't believe he got booked for it, did he?
I'm not sure. I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he did, which to me, I think that's poor. And I'd like to hope that the referee and the VAR team are disappointed with themselves for not issuing a yellow card there, because obviously it's subjective and it's a matter of opinions, but I just think it's a blatant yellow card.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on reflection. Dave, your perspective?
Yeah, but you can guarantee if it was on us on them, Arteta screaming, running down the line, coming out to technical box like he normally does, it would have probably gone to VAR.
Yeah. But again, this is a common theme, isn't it? Let's be honest, the whole refereeing decisions and VAR. And for me, it was just little decisions you just know aren't going to go your way. And I'm not saying refs are biased consciously, but I do think there is an element in there. And Gary O'Neill, for all his faults, did talk about that and try to, be clear on it. I don't think he got very far, to be honest. But I can.
The ref was Rob Jones as well. He's an absolute prick.
Yeah. Yeah, with a terrible haircut as well. Or skin no fade. Oh, bad.
Oh, Luke, he's starting trim watch now. We're going to have a trim watch.
Who's the ref who did Newcastle Sunderland earlier?
Peter Banks.
Oh, his haircut is the worst, mate. It does make me laugh. But, yeah, they're still human, so let's not point out haircuts.
Yeah, well, I think that... I think that could be a new feature, Lukey's trim watch. I think that could be a nice segment for us moving forward, particularly if we don't want to keep talking about the football. We need something else to distract us. That might be a good option for us. So, obviously, going in at 0-0, battling performance, let's be honest. We didn't create a lot other than that one shot. We got towards the kind of final third, but didn't really look particularly threatening. Your perspective going into half-time, Jafar, what was your thoughts? Obviously, you talked about battling and scrapping. What was your perspective?
Well, the key thing, obviously, we didn't produce a lot outside the Hwang chance, but the key thing for Wolves this season and building on anything going forward is to build structural rigidity in the defence. And the fact that we held Arsenal to 0 shots in that first half on target is incredible, because they've got for as many injuries as they have an incredible array of talent. And our weakness has always been giving up chances. And these guys, Mosquera is a complete lunatic. Agbadu's particularly not had the best season. And Toti Gomez being Bambi on ice. These three working together and forming a relationship and forming these partnerships has been positive, because it means that we're starting to see this step in the right direction towards, a little bit of a base to work from, because that's what we need. I think that's the key thing looking at that first half is that a lot like a Nuno performance, we took the first 60, 65 minutes that compress and really frustrate Arsenal. And I think that's going to be the key to any sort of success, is that we frustrate teams with what we got. But it's now the fact that we can't then transition, as Luke was saying earlier, into like quick counter-attacking football. And that's kind of what's missing from being successful in this side now. So going into halftime relatively happy-ish.
And from your perspective, Dave, what do you? Obviously, we've had the Rui Silva join, obviously previously under Nuno at Wolves. Do you think you could see any elements of that old Nuno regime starting to come into the team? Did you feel that you could spot any differences, particularly from the United game?
We actually look like a defence. We was a flat back five like we used to be. I think he's only been there a week. Is it week?
Yeah.
He's been back.
Yeah.
You can already tell he's working some sort of magic.
Yeah.
With them in the lines, but yeah, just give him a couple more weeks. We might actually not concede one.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke, from your perspective, obviously Joe Gomez came back in. I forgot to mention about that in the team news. I was too busy focused on the others. Obviously, he came back in from suspension. Do you think that was a big factor as well in terms of being more solid? You know, I thought he's obviously one of our best players. He's one of the players that can get around the pitch, you know, closing down and stuff. Do you think that was a big variable as well in terms of our performance certainly for the first half last night?
Yeah. I just think the energy that he brings and the amount of work that he puts in, he's a grafter. Like, you can't deny it. He's a grafter. He covers so much of the pitch. And he's probably one of the few players that this is genuinely hurting. I feel like he genuinely cares about football and the clubs that he's representing. I think he's got a lot of personal pride. Yes, he has games where he's not great, but doesn't every footballer? So he's one that he's got to be the first name on the team sheet. I know people compare him and Andre quite regularly. Yes, they are similar, but I think there's a lot of differences to them as well. But if there's ever a choice out of Andre or João Gomez, then for me, João Gomez wins 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. I think part of the challenge, again, Dave, for you is the part of the challenge we've got is that Andre and Joe are a bit too similar. I know Joe's a bit more progressive, Andre's more defensive, but he's part of our problem that we've got two players that are playing effectively this similar kind of position, similar kind of style.
Well, last night we had three players too similar. With Krejci coming in as well.
Yeah,
it's never going to work. Is it? You always need that one player that's willing to grab the ball and try pass, even just run with it to 10, 15 yards and then hold it up. But yeah, it's never going to work with three defensive midfielders.
Yeah, I think that for me is and we go back to like the progression. It's getting out, moving forward, and having three ball winners or three defensive players gives you solidity, but it doesn't give you an out or give the ability or the creativity to get out. Jafo, I've just dropped a little comment on there. Looks like we've got a new member of the fan cast. Do you want to quickly answer that one for Max?
Oh yeah, that's my little boy Chowder. He's my little adopted dog. I've not had him too long. But he's a German Shepherd pit bull mix. He's an absolute darling.
So,
but he's a lovely dog.
We'll
wanting him to be a bit of a star. he's got better text than Stu, I'll tell you that.
Actually, there was hold on, I need to put that one on there. There you go. I need to put that one on. Since you've done it, I'll have to put that one on there.
Still recovering his passwords from X.
He'll be on soon enough, ladies and gentlemen. Like that. So halftime 0-0, go into the second half. My first thoughts are, for crying out loud, let's keep it solid for the first 5-10 minutes, because you know we are famous for conceding goals early in both halves. Wanting to just keep that momentum, keep something to at least build on and move forward, which we did. But unfortunately, in the end, kind of the inevitability, although a bit of a freak scenario with the goal coming the way it was. Thoughts on that, Luke? I mean, obviously Arsenal are notorious for scoring from corners, and this case slightly more fortuitously than normal. Your perspective?
I just think if a goal's going to sum up Wolverhampton wonders at this moment in time, then it's Arsenal's first goal yesterday. Yeah. You know, he could take that corner another 99 times and he wouldn't score it again.
Yeah.
It's just so typical.
Yeah.
And you know what? Been very sort of critical and negative of the team, the club, the players, whatever, but they can feel hard done by for the manner in which the first goal went in yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, Dave, just your perspective. Do you think Johnston was at fault? Do you think it's positioning? Do you think he could have done a bit better on reflection, or am I being a bit harsh there? And it's just one of those, and it's just when you look down, and you take it, or what do you think?
It's when he looks down. I mean, he's jumped as I'm guessing as high as he possibly can, but it's just looped out. It's a proper loop parade.
Yeah.
But it's like I said with Doc, I think that was just after Jackson had come on.
Yeah.
If Doc's in Jackson's position, maybe he doesn't try and fight with Timber and actually tries to get an header on it.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm skipping ahead slightly. I guess from your perspective, then is that going to be, you feel that Doc needs to stay out on that right wing back position moving forward? That's probably the best place we need him at the moment, given what the options we've got available, and to provide that more solid, let's say solid approach at the back.
If you can do a job for the next couple of games until we get to the transfer window, and maybe fuck off Hoover or Summit,
yeah,
and then bring a new one in. Yeah, it's just the experience it brings as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just experience. Premier League experience, I think, is really important to call out. You know, that's something that was talked about as being missing, and something we desperately need. And then obviously there was a bit of contention in the run up, the offside, or the offside that wasn't given, or potential offside, should I say. Pidgeon Moel have said obviously that Saka wasn't interfering with Totti. He was not impacting his ability to win the ball and all this kind of stuff, which obviously led to the corner. I just wish we could spend less time talking about refereeing decisions, to be honest, as fans going forward. I think it just takes up far too much time. I'm not a massive fan of this whole referees talking to the crowd NFL style. I think that's just something they've seen on a Sunday night watching the NFL and go, oh, that's a good idea. Let's roll that out. From your perspective, Jafo, what do you think? Are you thinking that's offside? Offside is offside, which is what it used to be, or are we just looking for something that's not really there? And ultimately, Totti could have cleared it, wasn't able to do that fully, and unfortunately, we've paid the price.
There's distinctive layers to it, to be honest, and I think the key takeaways from anything when it comes to refereeing decisions is they've tried to overcomplicate it. They've tried to make a recipe and they've added too many ingredients, and the key is that now that they're having these conversations, and it's very much down onto interpretation. And a referee's job is to remove interpretation and look at the facts in front of you. It should be black and white. If it's not black and white, then you can't give a decision. And the thing is, they can come out and they can say things like it's not interfering with play. But at the end of the day, Totti Gomez is in a position, he's marking that space. He's there. He will have been affected by Saka's run going past him. So their argument becomes completely negated by the fact that a player is running within 10 yards of Totti in that area. There needs to be simplicity.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts, Dave? I mean, I think, Jafo, you've raised some really interesting points there. I think you can still sense a person behind you, even if they're not stood right next to you. And I think, it's starting to really impact the quality of the games and footballs with this kind of fragmented decision making and justifications all the time. What's your perspective?
I can see where Jafel's coming from, but also it's one of them 5-6 years ago. It's because of VAR. We've been being too busy with it. 5-6 years ago, with no VAR, just go, it's a tight one. That's all it is. You just carry on. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Obviously, after the goal, there was a number of changes from both teams. Arsenal started their changes obviously earlier, trying to get the goal. And then obviously Rob reacted. One of those substitutions was obviously to take off Strand Larsen, who was applauded by the away fans. I can confirm I was there. There was no ironic cheering or anything this game. To be replaced by Tolu, who obviously scored what we thought or hoped was going to be the equaliser coming on. I'd like to really get all of your collective thoughts on this. Obviously, whether you thought it was a more improved performance by Strand Larsen, but also the impact Tolu had coming off the bench. Scored, obviously, which was a good header, I felt. It was a good goal. And not only that, what were your thoughts going on to Saturday? Is this now the time for him to start? Or is it the reality is that he's not quite at the speed to do 90 minutes and has to remain patient and for us ultimately as an impact sub? I'll start with you first, Lukey, on Strand and Tolu as well. What's your perspective?
Strand Larsen, it just breaks my heart. We'll never get offered £60 million for him again. I think if we make our money back, we've done well. He looks miles off it, absolute miles off it, and I don't know why. I hope I'm so wrong here, but I kind of get the impression like he's not that arsed. Like he knows he's gone at the earliest opportunity. He comes across a little bit stroppy. I don't think his effort and work rates are there. I think there was a goal against Villa, and there was a goal. Yeah, the goal against Villa. I think he was really slow to close the edge of the box, and we played somebody at home, and we conceded off a throw-in where Strand Larsen was just really weak in that duel, and he allowed the opposition.
Burnley.
No, it's Crystal Palace. Oh, it might have been Burnley. Or was it? Might have been Palace. It was one of those two games anyway. And he's just so weak in the duel. And you're like, lad, just at least try. At least try.
No, Chelsea in the cup.
Was it Chelsea in the cup?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you're the first one to sort of come out in the media and have you say what you want to say to the fans in the South Bank, but you're miles off it, mate. Like you really need to find some level of form. 16 games into the season, and he's got one goal in the league, which was a penalty. It's just not good enough. And you can say about the service to him, and you can talk about our lack of creativity in the final third till you're blue in the face. But the harsh reality is he's got one goal in 16 as a striker. It's just nowhere near good enough. And when that's caveated with the fact that he will be one of the first to leave, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just feel like he would actively seek a move as well, which just makes it even worse to me. So sort of the way I view Strand Larsen at the minute is starting to lose that bit of respect for him as a contracted player of Wolves, which is a shame because we're in the shit and we should really be sort of banding together to try and support each other. But I think some of the energy that some of these players are giving off, it's almost impossible to fully support them and get behind them. And then sort of touching onto Tolu, if he's not fit enough for 90 minutes, he's not fit enough for 90 minutes. And, his performances and the team's performances will suffer as a result of that if we're trying to squeeze 80, 90 minutes out of him. But again, I hope I'm wrong. I'd just love a fucking striker to start putting the ball in the back of the net, to be fair. Don't particularly care who it is. Just somebody, please start scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your perspective, Dave? I mean, obviously, I'm just speculating that he's not fit enough because you'd think he'd be worth a shot by now. I mean, I have my own views on the squad in terms of I don't think any of them are fit enough. Maybe Joe I'll put to one side because he just chase around. So my argument is that the squad isn't fit enough generally for Premier League football. But I mean, what's your perspective on Tolu? Is it, or do we start to get even more crazy and put the two together and just start slinging in, going a bit old Stoke style, maybe, really just to mix it up? What's your perspective?
Surely as a professional footballer, you've got to be fit enough to at least do 60 minutes at most.
Absolutely.
It's the middle of December. We signed him in September. Surely there's no way he can't complete 45 at max.
Yeah.
And then whack on Strand Larson. But at the minute, Strand Larson is showing no hold up play, not even effort for jumping for the ball.
Yeah.
I think it's probably time Tolu gets at least 45 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But imagine bringing Strand Larson off at half time. I mean, again, I hope I'm wrong, but the strop that he'd have, and I don't know, man. There's something really off about him at the minute.
I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory at you, Jafo, and just see what your thoughts are. Do you think that some of these players are playing within themselves in order to make sure that they're fit for January or not injured? Is probably a more accurate description to support a move away from the club. But I think Luke, you might be quite right that a number of these are in contact with their agents to say, "Get me out of here. I'm a Wolves player. Get me out of here." Could be that some of these players are looking after themselves ahead of a potential move, or is that a conspiracy theory too far?
I think that's probably too far, because I think acting like that and playing like that only damages themselves. Because a lot of these players, we've got to remember, they are internationals, and we've got a World Cup coming up in less than a year. So if they're not playing well, they're not going to get selected. We know this. I mean, João Gomes and Andre, on paper, should be in that Brazil squad, but they probably won't be because of the way that they're, Wolves play and the way that they played. I think it's probably a ridiculous statement to think that they are playing with themselves. It's because you got to look at the team. The team's struggling. Everyone's struggling. How do you build confidence when you're losing every week? I mean, I was talking to Andy the other day about this, and I think the last time we won was in March. So it's December now. You could have got your missus pregnant, celebrating the last Wolves win in the league, and you'd have a kid now. How depressing is that? And imagine that's on the players as well. 9 months without winning a league game, pretty much. It's going to affect everyone. It's got nothing to do with wanting to protect yourself, and more the fact that how do you fucking motivate yourself? If you were going into work every day and your boss was on you and you were working in shit and muck, it's the same thing. You go into work every week and people are mad at you, people are frustrated with you, and you can't do anything about it because you put your heart and soul onto the pitch like players like João Gomes, and it don't make a fucking difference, and it just drags everyone down. How do you bring yourself up from that? That takes some real strong mentality, and I don't know many people who'd have the mental strength to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think, listen, as I said, these are some of the things that you hear, so I want to get your perspectives on it. I mean, Strand Larson is a really interesting point because obviously Norway won an interesting group with Italy, and some people are calling them, outside, dark horses for the World Cup. So he's definitely going to want to be a part of that in and around that squad. So yeah, that's a really, really fair point and some good insight there. Just to kind of wrap up from a game perspective, obviously the goal at the death, the Mosquera own goal. Obviously we changed formation, which led to the equaliser. But again, obviously with Totti out and switching them, unfortunately we weren't able to hold on, and it was a real gut punch for us right at the death as well. Not particularly merited, but there. I mean, your thoughts, Luke, on what was unfortunately a last gasp defeat?
Again, you just couldn't write it, could you? We equalised at the death. We've absolutely shithoused a frigging point away at top of the league, and no sooner that you've sort of stopped celebrating, we're scoring another own goal, and it's like it just really sums up everything that's going on around Wolves at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And from your perspective of day, what do you feel we can build on going into what's going to be obviously a huge game, as they all are now for various reasons, with Brentford on Saturday?
I mean, I know scored 2 own goals, but it was actually quite a decent defensive display, which we'll actually need against Brentford again with the amount of long throws Coyote chucks in the box. So we might need Doc at the back post again, but it's the same issues again. It's up top. We can have as good as a defensive display as we want. As long as we've got nothing up top, it's pointless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from your perspective, Jafo, what would you like to see us continue to do, and what would you like to see us change going into the game on Saturday?
It's having more pace and just trying to find pace from somewhere, whether that means giving more minutes to Mane, whether that means looking at other options. But I think you've got to roll back to the Tolu conversation a little bit. And with Tolu, the only way he's going to get fit is to play 60, 70 minutes. And he's got to start doing that. And we've got to start seeing him play longer in games. He's never going to get fit if he's playing 30 minutes a game, at the most. He's playing the last half an hour of a game. You can't build yourself up. You're never going to get sharp playing against players who are already tired. So they've got to look to build him up and give him more game time. Whether that means dropping JSL, I mean, it's a risk worth making, because he's not, as everyone has said, he's not pulled up trees this season. So he doesn't warrant a starting place anymore. So if it means the team suffers a little bit because he's not as fit, maybe we're a little bit, we're working together to try and cover Tolu a little bit more. We have to have competition, and healthy competition, for players who aren't playing well, because at the moment they're playing into fucking JSL's hands, and he's untouchable because Tolu's not fit.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we're on 2 points, aren't we? So no one, everything's off the table, really. You can certainly look at any option to move forward. I guess the other one that you talked about there, Jafar, and I'm going to pull you in, Luke, on this is obviously Mane, who I felt had a good cameo. Certainly did have energy. Certainly did look. Obviously got the assist as well. And as you may have all seen on social media, he had a very enthusiastic celebration, I'm going to call it, which was great to see. That passion, that energy. Would you, again, similar to Tolu, would you be looking to give him more minutes? Maybe not a start, but maybe a half time. How would you kind of handle that going into the weekend?
Oh, sorry, was that for me?
Yes, mate.
Oh, sorry. With Mane, yeah. Again, I'm quite vocal about it. I understand Jafar's point from earlier about could it damage him. Yeah, I get that completely. And you obviously do have to look out for that, especially with the position that we're in. I just think, from an experience point of view, it'd be absolutely fantastic for him. And imagine if it went the other way and he started chipping in with a few assists and a few goals, could really boost his confidence. And then going into next season, gives the fans a bit of hope. Have we got an academy prospect that's going to fire us back to straight back to promotion to the Premier League from the Championship, if and when that does become a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're in a position now where, if we're being brutally honest, we're down, aren't we? We are down. Is Wang going to stick around in the Championship? No. Unless there's no suitors. Is Strand Larson going to stick around? No. You could probably go through about 70% of the squad, and the answer would be no. Would Mane stick around next season? Yes, I believe so. So why not start to introduce him, getting that experience and all that stuff now? But I do understand the counter argument about it having a negative effect. But I feel it could equally, it could have a really positive effect on not just him, but maybe the team. I think when you're looking at Mane and comparing to Wang again, when Mane receives the ball, his next action always appears positive. So it's always a forward thought or a forward movement. Whereas Wang, it seems like it's a safe option first, or it's an inside ball, or it's an inside bit of movement instead of that forward positive movement. and sometimes it's just little tweaks like that that can change the fortunes of a team and get other players feeling a bit more positive, a bit more forward thinking, and then I think the fans would buy into that as well. And I think when you look at the passion that he showed following the equaliser, that is exactly what the fans want to see, and that is exactly what the fans will want to get behind. If Mane does that, she will start. Yeah, he probably would. But at least we could say, well, it's a positive that we're creating players through the academy that we're selling on for good money and whatnot. So I mean, I'm all for it. I think it makes sense. I do understand the counter arguments to it, but for me, I think Mane is a sort of player that the fans would really get behind. And even if he was to come in and not perform at a high level where he's getting, your 7s and your 8s out of 10 every week, I still think the fans will get behind him just because he's young and he's come through the academy.
He's going to get much more allowance and support than any other players. That's reality. One of your own, young lad, get behind him, support him. Right? That's reality, and that's the right thing. By the way, that's the right approach. The other young player, obviously, that's started to play again a bit more. Dave, I'm going to ask for your thoughts on this. Was Fair Lopez, who obviously came in, had a couple of very difficult games, was out for quite a period, and has then come back in, seems to be like being reintegrated, and has had a couple of subs appearances. What are your thoughts on him, and what kind of approach should we take with him? Is it, again, trying to build him up, give him cameos and see where he's at? Obviously, he's played more games than Mane professionally, but I'd be interested to get your thoughts on him.
Just chuck them both in at the same time. That's all the fans want. We just want something exciting. He's not afraid to look for a through ball. He's not afraid to receive the ball on the half turn, try and move the players up the pitch.
Yeah,
we just want something raw and exciting, just to get us off our seats. And Mane and Lopez are probably the two players at the minute. I know they haven't got the most experience in the world, but who cares when they don't care when they're 18, 19. They just want to play, and that's what the fans want.
So how would you set that? Because obviously we went more of a 5-3-2 or 5-3-1-1 yesterday. How would you then? Who would you take? I presume Huang would be one. Who would you take out to accommodate those two within the team going into, like, say, for example, Saturday? How would you?
I'd probably have Tolo up front instead of Larson. Play Mane off him as a bit with a bit of pace, and then obviously because Bellegarde's out, I'd put Lopez at the top of the. Let Andre and Gomez just sit, get the ball off, and then get Lopez to get the ball off them on the half turn. Play it out wide if the wing backs actually want to attack, and play it that way.
Well, that's how we were set up at the start. Sorry, Greg, but
go ahead.
That's how we were set up at the start of the season. We were trying to play with that box midfield, wasn't we? The 4, but obviously that got shelved pretty quickly. But I think that would actually, if you are looking to bring in those two players, I think that would actually work to try that box 4 midfield again with Andre and Gomez in behind as the screeners protecting.
So I'm all for dropping Andre. I really am. I think Andre is a big part of the problem at the moment, and I think Krejci is a much more all-round footballer and what we need. I think a lot of the problem is in the past where Andre has done well is because we've had a resilience on players like when we've had Pedro Neto and Cunha, where they are exceptional players going forward. So there is less pressure on players like Andre to perform. And when you find yourself in a position like we are now, you need everyone to show some sort of ability and all-roundness. Krejci is a much better option because he's better going forward. He's a better passer and a better goal scorer than Andre. Andre becomes sort of a luxury of being linked only to the defensive play. So I think personally, I'd throw Andre out because through no fault of his own, he's now a luxury player.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Listen, we've got all options available right now because we're on 2 points, so it kind of feels like anything's an option right now. I think we've got to look at that, and I think for me, I think what we're going to look at potentially if we're going to do anything meaningful this season, is potentially looking at 2 formations and 2 styles. One away, which is going to be low block, gritty, see what we can nick, kind of
shit out.
Yeah. Basically, that, yeah. And away, we're going to be annoying in the faces. And we did with Arsenal. They were getting roiled. The fans were getting fed up because we were doing exactly what we should have been doing. But I think you can't play with that style at Molineux. I think it would just cause absolute chaos if we tried to do that. Unless it was obviously a Liverpool or something. And again, then you're okay. But certainly going into Brentford, we can't be adopting the same style. I think it would just invite angst, to be honest. And I think that's going to be the problem. Moving on then just quickly. Obviously, there was another protest of sorts yesterday as well, with these kind of full of she posters that were presented in the second half, in the first and second half, which were there. I will say, as someone who was in the away end, it was not as anywhere near as volatile in terms of anti. I think the fans got behind the team yesterday and really focused on that more. This was the main thing. There wasn't as much anti-foes and singing, noticeably less than there has been previously. What I guess looking going forward, we've already started to touch about protests. I joked about doing fancy dress protests. That was definitely tongue in cheek, I hasten to add. Thinking forward, and again for you guys, obviously I did a show on the night of the Jeff Shee interview. What I'd like to get is your thoughts, A, on terms of this kind of ongoing piece, and B, more widely in terms of, where we sit as a club and that. I think we've got plenty of time to go and cover this. So I'll start with you first, Luke. Obviously, you do a lot of work at a grassroots level from a club perspective. So, you've got a really good insight into what needs to happen to get a club moving forward. What's your perspective in terms of the protests, but also your reflection on the comments from Jeff and his approach to us as a fan base right now?
So I think with Jeff, one thing that interview did do, it gave me so much confidence in what I'm doing in grassroots football, because if he can do that role at a Premier League club, I genuinely believe I can do it at a Champions League club, because I genuinely don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he knows what to do. He clearly doesn't get football with the comments that he's made. I mean, that comment about the relegation comment, you just can't say those things, can you? It's scandalous. I think he has zero compassion towards us as fan base. I think he has zero care towards us as a community. My takeaway at the moment is, I'm not even going to speak too much about it, but Folsom, they've stole our soul, and now it feels like they're trying to kill us, completely kill us off. You look at we had the conversation last night, didn't we? Freaking 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Even our match day programs are miles off it. I think, what areas did we cover yesterday? So you got your match day programs, miles off it. The first team, miles off it. The match day experience, miles off it. The sort of connection with the fans and the community, miles off it. The investment into facilities were miles off it. One thing that we probably do quite well is maybe events and corporate, but as a fan base, they're probably the ones that we care about the least. And because I did sort of switch off listening about 20 minutes into the interview because it was just infuriating me. And I keep seeing people make these like little jokes about a theme park. It's like, what? Where's this come from? What is this theme park talk?
So he talked about trying to build the area around Molineux as more as like a hub, so it was more of a community thing.
Yeah,
I think part of this is an angle to try and seek investment from the local authority, which obviously Jeff hasn't done a lot of looking at the public sector finances because none of them have got any money right now. So I think he's barking up the wrong tree when it comes to that. If he's looking for Wolves Council to lend him a few quid, I think he might get struggle with that one. But yeah, I think you're right, Luke. I think you've hit a number of points. I think if you take a step back and Jafar, I'm going to bring you in here. Obviously, this is we're at 10 years. And Jeff talked a lot about a 10-year plan, and now we're going to be into the second 10-year plan. You know, this is someone who's been in the community, as Luke calls it, which is quite right, for a significant period of time. You know, we're not 12 months, 24 months into the Fosun journey here. We're a decade in, and a decade's a long period of time, particularly in football. You know, where do you think he's missing? I mean, there's a number of elements that they're missing the mark on. What do you see are the key areas that need to be addressed, you know, if they are to stay in charge, and he seemed very boisterous about the fact that they're going to be staying in charge? What will you say would like be the top 2 or 3 things that he needs to focus on as a priority to get addressed?
The main issue and the biggest downfall of the Fosun era is the fact that they have very much learnt on the job, and they have lent on people who they shouldn't have lent on. There was too much. We speak too much on George Mendes, but there is too much reliance on George Mendes. We know this. But it's the fact that they've gone through so many people, and fuck all their titles and what they call them, but so many sporting directors. They've gone through them like fucking nobody's business. The only one who's got any sort of weight and sort of ability has been Kevin Thelwell, and he's hated as much as anyone. But he is the only one with proper football experience who's been in this football club. Everyone else, there's nobody. You've got Matt Jackson now who's over it. He's got really nothing. You've got the people who've come before him. Dominique Arteta is a fucking chancer and a best mate with Vitor Pereira, so that was a non-starter anyway. If you don't surround yourself with people who understand the game, who either played it at a very highest level and understand and have got a mind for the way that should run as a business, or you have people who are very good businessmen, people who understand about creating teams and developing the team, you're doomed to fail, because Jeff Shee has doomed himself by not knowing about football. As Luke says, he doesn't know anything. And the fact that he has no experience, and he's had, let's not fucking beat around the bush, he's had almost 10 years to fix this situation. 10 years, and people know. And if he can't see with himself that his appointments and the people that he put around him is the reason why he's the failure, then he's the most egotistical maniac who's ever been in charge of Wolves, even more so than even the fucking Barty brothers of the past, even more egotistical than that, because it's insane. This club could be so much further ahead than where it is right now. But as people have said, it is a managed downfall. And it is managed, it is not done through necessity. It is done through incompetence. And Jeff Shee's incompetence is because he doesn't understand football and he doesn't understand building a team. I am happy to sell our best players off if it means that the money is reinvested in the correct manner. But he doesn't have the right people to look at the right markets to get the right value. We spent way too much money on players who've never really done it in Europe. Gonçalo Guedes never really did it in Europe. He failed everywhere he gone. Fabio Silva, massive investment on a player who's barely played any minutes. Mateus Nunes, massive investment on a player who eventually ratted us out. Mateus Cunha, massive investment, massive risk on a player who never really did it in Europe. Raul Jimenez, even though he's a success, massive investment, massive potential for failure because he'd never done it in Europe. These are risks, and they're high-level risks, and there's a lot of money on the table. If you look at teams like Brighton and you look at where they do it and the money that they spend and the level that they spend, it's a hell of a lot less because it's measured in terms of the way that they do investment and the risks that they take. You can't throw money against the wall and keep winning, because it's not going to be. It's not a long-term measure of success, and that's what Wolves have done and Fosun have done. Nobody can say that Fosun haven't invested money. They've just invested it badly.
And that's the key to the downfall, is that Fosun obviously do care because they've thrown money into it. The fact that they haven't got their own sense to realise that their downfall is because they didn't put the right people around them to get the right players in. So Fosun give a shit, but now they're having to throw all the money back because they've wasted so much through their own incompetence.
So I believe, talking about Fosun there, I believe that some form of relationship can still be built between Fosun and the fans. The issue is the man that sits in between the fans or the club and Fosun Group, and that's Jeff Shee. Now, for me, I think that relationship is it's beyond repair. All trust has gone. He could go on ITV Central News and say the sky is blue and the grass is green, and every Wolves fan would step outside to double check, because we can't believe a word that he says now. And once the trust has gone, you've got nothing. And I think the trust has gone so far, and because he's managed and led this club so poorly, particularly over the last 3 years, that the relationship's done. But I do believe that a relationship between the fans or the club and Fosun can still exist to a degree. But we're in a position now where the fans will never be on board or support Jeff Shee again. Now, if he is adamant that Fosun are going nowhere, I think we can live with that. If he's adamant that he's going nowhere, there's going to be a problem. Whether it be
100%.
next week, next season, 3 seasons time, 5 seasons time, unless something miraculous happens and he starts to treat the club with the respect that it deserves, because as far as I'm concerned, he shows no respect towards Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club. Until that happens, the relationship, I think, is dead in the water now.
Just go on, Dave.
I don't know if I heard it on one of our programs or another podcast, but if he was a smart man, he would have gone to Dan Ashworth and gone, "Here's a couple of million, come and work for us. Your son's in the academy. I'll step back. I'll let you do what you want." That's all I need to do. I mean, Dan Ashworth is one of the smartest football people in the country.
Oh, without shadow of a doubt. This is not even a debate, really, is it? The stuff that he does.
That's all it takes. A bit of nous just to go, "Oh, right, Dan, come on."
And that's a big part of leadership as well. Building teams around you that can support you in reaching your vision. Now, you look at the teams that he's built, and you feel really bad because you're digging people out on their jobs and their livelihoods here. And I'm sure they're great people, but I think there's been too many instances where people have underperformed in their roles. And then when people have performed well, he's got rid of them. Perfect example, Laurie Dalrymple. For me, he was really leading the club forward in a positive manner. You could see the improvements. The match day experience was, in my opinion, improving quite rapidly under Dalrymple's stewardship. And before you know it, he's gone. You're like, why the hell has this guy gone? Like, this guy actually gets the club. He actually gets the people. I mean, I don't know Dalrymple personally, but from the few bits I saw, he seemed like a nice guy as well, to be fair, like a genuine guy.
Like you're down the Oxhead every weekend, weren't they? 5 points.
Yeah, but yeah, so when you look at leadership, and that's about the teams and the infrastructure that you put around you. And again, he's fucked up, man. Like he's just not doing a good job in so many different areas and facets of the business, the organisation, the football club, whatever you want to term it as. Like, I'd love to know what his KPIs are attached to his job role, because I just don't understand or see how he can be hitting his KPIs.
Is this his ego, though? Is this his ego saying, "I know best, I know better, I'm the person to lead this"? I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
Like, is that a reason?
It well could be. you know, if let's say, for example, us four now went and took on a CEO role or a leadership role within, let's just for argument's sake, esports, you would get people around you that understand esports, that can advise you and guide you to make positive decisions. Like, but so to me, I think you're right, Greg. It has to be some sort of element of ego. It has to be. You know, has he had a good save on Football Manager 22 or something, where he took Watford to the Champions League, and now he thinks he knows everything? I don't know.
I do wonder if he's applying business processes and models to the world of football, which, let's be honest, football is a unique industry. It, you know, as consumers, as supporters, listen, if I have a duff meal somewhere or I buy a top and it's rubbish, I can go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with football. It's not that way. And you talked about it at the start, Luke, the community piece, and I think that's something that has to be really stated. You know, we're on here, 4 blokes at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night talking about Wolves, talking about football, right? As a community, because it is, and it's that importance. It you know, and with life being so hard as it is for people, it's an escape. It's a way to bring people together to look at a game for 90 minutes on a Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, and have that. And they're, like you said, they're kind of messing around with that and not in a good way. And you can't keep doing that to people.
You look at that piece, that excellent piece, may I add. And can we also make a point that when we're talking about sort of downfalls with the connection between the club and the community, can we categorically state that we don't include the Wolves Foundation in these conversations? Because the stuff that the Wolves Foundation do in the community it's absolutely fantastic and it's brilliant.
It's totally separate from them.
Yeah,
they're not involved.
And I think people need to understand that. So I hope when we're having these conversations around community, people understand that we're not including Wolves Foundation in these conversations, because that they are absolutely fantastic with what they do. But anyway, going back to that amazing piece that was done by the Wolves Foundation last season around mental health, when that guy standing there, give me a hug, let's have a chat, Reaper, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That just shows how important football is to its communities. And within our community of Wolverhampton, we're a football mad city.
Yeah.
We are partisan in our support and love for our football club. So the sense of community, if you can get it right with this football club, you will honestly feel like you can take on the world. Mm-hmm. Because when Wolves fans are together, supporting towards the same goal and mission, there is genuine, like, it literally feels like nobody can stop us, because we are that passionate and tight-knit as a fan base. And it's genuinely sad to see how fractured all these relationships are becoming now.
Absolutely. Right, I think we've covered that, and the three of you have contributed excellently to that and given your thoughts. And again, you can just see the passion that's coming through here. You know, people, you know, I'm still going to Arsenal on a Saturday night because I want to support the team, I want to support the lads, and I want to get behind them. And there's thousands of people doing the same. There'll be thousands of us there on Saturday. There'll be people there rolling out over Christmas. Mm-hmm. You know, and we are all behind the club, but we need the club to step up and do the right things, and they're not. And that's the frustration here. And this has been coming. You know, this isn't a one-off crazy transfer window and it's all falling apart. This has been happening, or been coming along for a number of seasons, and unfortunately now it's coming home to roost. I guess looking forward, off the back of this, anything, you know, to take into Saturday? I know we're going to do a preview show on that, so I don't want to kind of overstep onto that too much, but your kind of key thoughts and perspectives each. I'll go around in terms of what you want to see going for Saturday, and what can we do to get this first win. Dave, I'll go with you first, mate.
Same bit of effort as we had last night. That's all I want. That's all I want. Just try. That's all I've wanted all season.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, I hate going, so I'm going on the piss instead.
I'll blame you.
Luke, your thoughts, mate?
Similar to Dave, you know, I think as a fan base, all we ever want to see from our teams is a team that is willing to put bodies on the line, show that desire, that hunger, that work rate, that determination, because we've seen enough players over the years who technically and tactically are crap, but we will back anyone who will put their body on the line for this football club and represent the badge positively. So if we see that from these players, then the support they'll get back will be massive.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And last but certainly not least, Jafo, your thoughts?
I'll keep it sweet. Tolu, Mane, Arias.
Okay,
that's what I want.
That's short and sweet. I can't argue with that. Thank you very much, gents, for your thoughts and for your, like I said, for your passion and for your insight. It's great to see. Thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. You know, we can see a lot of you in the chat, and we appreciate that. Listen, it's not a fun time being a Wolves fan at the moment, but like Luke, you said, we're a community and we stick through thick and thin, and we will continue to do that, and we'll continue to work together again and alongside other fan casts and other fan groups, as well as we continue to look at how we can best deal with the challenges we've got at the moment. We'll be doing a preview show in advance of the game on Saturday. Everyone enjoy the rest of your weekend. Not much of it left now, but enjoy the rest of it there, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks everyone again, and last but not least, up the Wolves.
Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?